Hi, so these are the directions for how to create a graph. So you need to make sure that you have your data table in your Google spreadsheet. And when you make a graph, the first thing you need to do is you need to tell the computer what cells you want it to graph. And usually the first graph that we create is just a graph of the data itself. So if you take a look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold. For me, in this spreadsheet, that would be D3. I'm going to click and drag or hold all the way up to the top left-hand side, which is A1, and I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to double check and look at the shaded area and make sure that's what I want to be graphed. Okay, so usually the first graph is going to be just the raw data. And if I go up along this ribbon here all the way to the right side, there's a little icon that looks like a bar graph, and it says Insert Chart. So if you click that, it will insert a chart, and it's going to pick the chart it thinks you want. And you may not want this chart. So here's the chart that came up. So I see the little dots all the way around it. That means it's highlighted. And when it's highlighted, I can kind of drag it. So right now it looks like I have 3 blues, and that would be the 3. Okay. That would be the 3, 3, 5, and 1 red, which would be the 4. And that kind of makes sense. So if I look at this graph, it looks pretty good. It looks like the data's there. But I'm going to need to look at a couple things. I need to look at the title, which is up here at the top, and it says full sun and shade. And that really does not make sense. It's not a complete title, because this particular question was, what is the effect of the amount of sun on how high a plant grows? So I'm going to need to change that title. And if I click, you're going to notice that there's a box around it. And over here on the right side, it goes to customize charts and access and chart title. And right here, I can change the text here, or I can change the text actually here too. So that title I can change and make it the actual testable question. I could say amount. Okay. I can change that and make it say amount of sunlight versus plant height. Please notice I spell all the words. It's a title, so I do need to capitalize those words, and that's important. So that makes more sense. That means I'm looking at sunlight versus plant height. So the next thing I need to look at is the x-axis, and that's down here. I'm going to click it, and let's see if I can highlight it. There, it's highlighted. So after week 1, after week 2, after week 3, those specific words, does amount of light describe those words? No. After week 1, after week 2, after week 3, weeks is a period of time. So I'm going to write time. Okay. And then I also need to make sure that I have a y-axis over here, but there's nothing there. So I can't click on it and edit it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click so that the dots are around the graph, and I'm going to go here to the 3 dots, and I'm going to hit Edit Chart. And if you notice over here, it says Setup is highlighted. I'm going to change to Customize, and I have all these different options here. And I'm going to go to Chart Axes and Titles. So right now it's on horizontal. It says it's time. So I need to change this to vertical. And now it's blank over here. And I need to decide the bar that's at 3. What is that 3? It's not the amount of sunlight. That's the plant height, right? So I'm going to type plant height, and I'm going to put the units I used, parentheses cm. So notice plant and height are both capitalized, and cm's in parentheses. So I've got a title that's descriptive. I've got an x-axis and a y-axis that's descriptive, and units are there, and they're capitalized, and I do have the correct data. So it looks like this graph is done. So I'm going to kind of move it out of the way over here a little bit. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need to make a graph of the averages. And I just kind of want this part and this part in the graph. And so if I click and drag over here, and then I click and drag over here, the other side disappears. So there's a button that allows you to click specific things. So if I hit my control button down and I hold it down and I highlight those and let go of my right hand, I can now go over here and highlight these, and they're both highlighted at the same time, and the stuff in between doesn't get highlighted. So that control button really helps. So I want to highlight column A, column E. I don't want to highlight any of these cells down here. And I'm going to hit graph. And so I've got 2 bars. Excellent. I have no title, no X and Y, and the bars are not labeled. So I've got some things to do here. So I'm going to hit customize, and I'm going to go through charts and axes titles. And I'm going to say chart title, and I'm going to say this is the average plant height versus amount of sun. Can't spell. Sunlight. How about that? Versus probably needs to be capitalized maybe because it's a title. Okay. And there's things I can do. I can, move it to the left, center it, move it to the right, change the font size, change the color, all that good stuff. Okay. Let's see. I still need to put X and Y. So I'm going to go back to edit chart. I'm going to go back to customize. I'm going to go back to chart and axis titles. And this time I'm going to go to the vertical axis. So those heights mean that that is the average. Okay, let's try this again. Average plant height in centimeters. Okay, and that appeared. Now I'm going to go to the horizontal axis, and those are the 2 conditions of sunlight, right? So I'm going to say sunlight conditions, and that appears, and they're capitalized, but I'm missing a label on each bar. So I'm going to have to do some investigating to see what I need to do to get those to come up and appear. So it doesn't look like, I wonder what chart subtitles are. So I might need to investigate that. I'll close that. Maybe I need to investigate the series or the legend, or you're just going to have to go in here and work through that, because I don't know the answer, quite honestly. And if you've worked through everything, maybe you go into and Google a question of some kind. So when it's highlighted, I can move it over here. Okay. So that's kind of how you're going to figure out a graph for the plain old data and a graph for the averages. So you're going to do that with the other 2 pages that you practiced. Okay? If you have questions or problems, come and talk to me, please.